Aloha and welcome to Connection to the Cosmos with your host, me, Dr. Lisa Thompson, where I have out of this world conversations with extraordinary people. Today, I'm really excited to have on Dawn McLaughlin, and we're going to bring her on in just a moment. But first, just a couple of announcements. If you have not had the opportunity to grab my free 20-minute meditative journey to meet your galactic family and guides, make sure you grab that on my website, mysticmanta.com or drlisajthompson.com. Also, I am having my Galactic Retreat Experience, 5 intensive days here on the Big Island, October 2nd to the 6th this year. So if you're interested in diving deeper into meeting your galactic family and really connecting with them, check that out also at mysticmanta.com. And I am now officially offering my Galactic Ascension Channel certification program, which is going to be taught online the weekend, September 21st and 22nd. That information is also on the website. And then if you're coming to Hawaii, specifically to the Big Island, anytime throughout the year, then come on one of my Big Island UFO tours where you will experience the night sky in a whole new way using the advanced Generation 3 military night vision goggles. Now we're going to bring Dawn forward. Hi, Dawn.
Hello. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, it's so great to have you on. So let me share with your bio with the audience. So Dawn McLaughlin is a writer, Reiki Master-Teacher, vibrational sound healer, astrologer, and yoga and meditation teacher. She is the author of Everyday Reiki and Spirit Allies and Healing Guides, and she enjoys nothing more than sharing Reiki with others. Well, so all the things you do definitely right in line with what we talk about here on the show. So before we get into the work that you do and your books, I would love for you to share with me and the audience kind of how you grew up, spiritual, religious, something else, so we can understand the journey of how you came to do the work that you do.
Thank you so much. So I grew up in a strict Catholic family, going to church every Sunday. And when I was younger, I was very close to my religion. I felt very much a part of it. But as life happens, you move on from perhaps your upbringing, which is what happened to me. I had 2 children. I had a corporate day job. I was very involved in just my day-to-day mundane existence until my boys went away to college. And at that point of time, my life shifted. I began to explore deeper parts of myself because I had the time to do that and the inclination. I started going to Reiki healing and yoga, which led me to become a yoga and meditation teacher and a Reiki practitioner. And that just propelled me on this journey towards other healing modalities and learning more about myself. And as I went deeper and deeper, my interest just blossomed into astrology and tarot and vibrational sound healing, all of that. And hypnotherapy is another thing that I've been diving into lately to get into the subconscious more.
Perfect. Well, so did you have any hesitation in doing any of these because of your Catholic upbringing, or did your family have any issues? Or I'm kind of curious about that.
Yes. Myself personally, I had a wonderful teacher who told me once that these concepts might seem strange to you, and that's okay. Just don't throw them away, though. Basically, file them away, and one day you might come back to them. And I actually did. I gave myself permission to do that. And I love the Catholic religion, but I've really grown from that. My parents are wonderful. They didn't understand everything I do, but they accept it. And now that I'm opening up an actual physical location for my healing practices, they're actually very supportive.
Okay. Well,
and my mom has actually scheduled a Reiki session with me. So
okay. Well, that's amazing. So where are you physically located to do?
Smithfield, Rhode Island. So quite a bit of ways from Hawaii, but
well,
yes.
Well, we have an international audience, and there are quite a few East Coasters. So, but I'm assuming that you also do some of your modalities, at least online, correct?
Yes, especially during the pandemic. So where I was at previously closed during the pandemic. So we went strictly online, and I developed my own online presence. And but now I'm going back and doing in-person sessions, and I'm excited about that.
Okay, perfect. So is Everyday Reiki, is that the first book that you ended up publishing?
Yes, I did. That was based from the pandemic and my experiences of trying to go deeper into practices that I was familiar with, but the pandemic gave me time to really turn my attention inward and realize that I could take things further. I could go deeper and develop a personal experience. And it's from those personal experiences that I developed the book so that others can go deeper than perhaps they ever have before.
Okay, so if someone, what would they learn in your book?
It's geared towards Reiki practitioners of any level.
Okay.
What we do is start with the foundations of Reiki. So there are three levels of Reiki: Reiki 1, Reiki 2, and then Reiki 3, which is a master level. And what I do is I break down and go through the concepts of Reiki. But then for 40-day periods for each of the levels, we have practices each day, a different concept, a different meditation and journaling exercise, excuse me, that illustrates the concept so that you get a chance to really develop an experience of the concept and your own unique interpretation of it and how you can apply it to your life based on your needs, which are different from, let's say, my needs or anybody else's.
Okay, excellent. And so then what inspired you to write your latest book, The Spirit Allies and Healing Guides?
That was the book I wish I had when I began my healing journey. I had some wonderful references. There were some nice books out about healing guides and well, about guides in general, but they weren't geared to just healing. And when we say healing, it's more than just physical healing. It's mental healing, emotional healing, relationship healing, healing for children and animals, and financial healing. A lot of us need that financial healing right now. So I did my research and developed tools and techniques to communicate with guides, but also I give a nice reference of different types of deities, angels, archangels, ascended masters, saints, that can assist us with our own spiritual practices and can assist us with deep healing on all levels, whatever your unique needs are.
Okay, so in your personal experiences, which of the guides do you actively use?
Well, I love astrology. So Chiron, for me, the wounded healer is a great archetype, the centaur, working with both our animal nature, our needs and wants, versus our intellectual element. And there's a spiritual element there. So I love the story of Chiron. I know where it's placed in my astrological chart, which is quite prominent. So I work with Chiron, but also I have an interesting autoimmune disease called celiac disease,
Hmm.
which prevents me from really absorbing nutrients. So the Roman goddess Karna, I work with her energies because she is linked with being able to absorb those nutrients. So that's been interesting. And of course, all the angels. I love working with angels. I love their energy. So that's part of my core team, but it shifts and changes as things come up. So if I need more financial relief, I'll call on some financial guides.
So what would be an example of a financial guide that one can call on?
Oh, I'll because of my yoga practices, I'm very familiar with Ganesha,
Hmm.
who is the bringer of abundance. I love working with Ganesha, the elephant-headed god of the Hindu pantheon. So I work with Ganesha a lot. Uh, that's the main one I work with financial healing, but there are many options.
Okay, and in your book you go over more of those kind of
Oh yes,
options.
there's a whole chapter on different healing deities and guides and how you can work with them. So
Okay,
yes, lots of options.
okay,
I have about 85 different options outlined.
okay. Well, that sounds like a really great reference for Um, well, so let me switch directions just a little bit because you brought up astrology. And
Mhm.
so for you, when you're working with clients with astrology, I mean, like, so my mother was an astrologer when I was growing up. So
Ooh,
I'm pretty
exciting.
familiar. And I myself have never, learned that aspect. I did learn human design, but um, I'm I'm curious how you like to work with clients with the astrology.
So astrology tells us so much. In addition to where the planets are placed, I like to get into the elements. So each planet is in a sign. That sign has an element associated with it. So earth, water, fire, air. And I like to look and see what their makeup is. The more we know about ourselves, the more that we can tailor our activities and our options to align with those energies. Or if there's a deficit, something missing, we can supplement and augment ourselves by working and bringing more of that element in. So, for example, in my own chart, I have a lot of fire, I have a lot of air. So I'm all in my head. Yes.
Me too. So yeah, tell me about us.
Yes. So I have absolutely no problem getting inspiration. Everything around me inspires me, and my mind is always working. So I'm in my head so much. But what I had issues with was bringing that down into the material world. So I think a lot, I get a lot of ideas, I jot them all down. But then when it comes to actually doing the thing, I didn't always do the thing. And that was due to my lack of earth element, I determined. So once I started getting into that earth element more, and the way I personally did that was spending time in nature. So walking in the woods, taking hikes, walking barefoot, even spending time in the water element, going to the beach. Beaches are options in Rhode Island because I also lack water element. I would absorb that energy. I also incorporated a lot of it into my meditations, going down and drawing up earth energy and having it fill my aura, fill my body. And that really, really helped me to be able to manifest those visions into this world. And it helped with calming the mind. It helped calming the anxiety from having so many thoughts going through my head all the time. Just gave me more balance. So that's usually where I start a session, would be to look at the makeup and then have a conversation about what my client is experiencing and see if there's ways that I can assist bringing more balance into their lives. That would be the first thing, even before looking at other things of where planets are talking to each other. I start there.
Yeah. Well, that I love what you just shared about that. And I have a good friend who's an astrologer who was like, it's no wonder that you moved to an island, in the middle of the ocean, because it really does help balance out the grounding and the earth and the water that I do lack.
Exactly. And those are more receptive elements. Fire and air are more active, more on the go, more direction towards movement, whereas the receptivity of the earth and the water really does bring more peace. But of course, if you had too much earth, you might have trouble moving. So there's a flip side to everything.
Okay. Well, and my happy place is at the beach.
Me too. My absolute happy place. I grew up at a beach house. I need to be around the water, which is why I still hang around in Rhode Island.
Okay.
Although we're not an island.
Right. Now, if someone has more like the opposite of us, then what kind of advice would be good for them? So if they're like earth and water.
So if they're earth and water, it would be to get moving more, to get more into those mental realms. So if you wanted to bring in more air, for example, I would actually still send them outside sometimes. Go out, fly a kite, absorb, be outside and see the air move it, feel it on your skin, blow bubbles. I had people go out and buy bubbles and blow bubbles just to see the air element move. Vibrational sound healing, the bowls, and that movement through the air is a beautiful way to get in touch with the air element. And then there's always journaling. I always recommend journaling. Great way to get to know yourself. It's a great way to interact with that air element. Fire. I love fire meditations. Candle gazing is one of my favorites. Or spending time, if you want to go outside again, a bonfire, safely, of course. Those type of activities are great. And there are crystals associated with all of these too, like fire agate for fire. I like for water, I would go aquamarine or something like that. You want to do crystals.
Air? What's a good air crystal?
I still, for air, anything that is more yellow in nature, like yellow calcite is a nice one. So if you want to bring in more mental, or even a clear crystal is excellent for helping tune the mind.
Okay. And
getting
then
into
let's
emotional.
finish up with the earth. What about earth for the?
Oh, earth and oh gosh, smoky quartz. My favorite for not just getting in touch with the earth, but it also has a nice little element of protection that many of us that are very open need a little bit more of that energetic protection. I go with that.
Okay. And do you also deal with relationship charts, or are
I
you
do
strictly like personal?
I do a little with relationship charts, but that's not really where my focus is. For relationships, I tend to talk to people and we work with that in another way. Because I've seen relationship charts that are great.
Mhm.
And I've seen relationship charts like my husband and myself, where complement, you don't want to have too complementary a chart because then there's no opportunity for growth there. So, for example, my husband and I, our Jupiters are extremely compatible. And you would think that's a wonderful thing. Jupiter, good luck, good fortune, the planet of expansion. But when Jupiters get a little bit lazy sometimes, so he and I could just sit there and go, what do you feel like? Oh, we don't feel like doing anything. And a little bit too much of a good time sometimes. So yeah, I've seen it go both ways. It's not really the focus of my practices, but I am familiar with them, and it does add a neat little element there.
Okay, excellent. Was there anything else that you would like to share with the audience about astrology before we go into other stuff that you do?
No, that's fine. But astrology is a wonderful tool for anybody wanting to know more about themselves. I highly recommend everyone have their natal chart read.
Yeah. And then as far as the sound healing, so I don't know if you see behind me, but I have the whole set of crystal singing bowls, the chakras, and then the 528 hertz. So what inspired you to get into the sound healing, and how do you use it in your practice?
So I use it to, well, how did I get into it? I went to a gong bath. And it
Mm.
was one of the most interesting experiences of my life. And my husband went with me. And I basically dragged him to that one. And we went and we sat there. And I was so excited, so very excited. And then as they began, all that came up for me was anger. I got
Mm.
very, very, very angry during it. And it was about an hour and 15 minutes. And by the end, I was ready, to storm right out. And I had to think about that because my husband, he had a wonderful time. He didn't even want to go. And he was soaring like an eagle over mountains and streams, having this wonderful vision trip. And I had all this anger come up, but it's what needed to be released. I
Mm.
wasn't in touch with my anger. It's something I had pushed down over the years. It's not an emotion I'm comfortable with. It's not an emotion I express, but it was
Mhm.
there and it needed to be released. And once I realized that, I'm like, wow, there's really something here. So then as I always do, dove in deep, learned everything I could. I developed my own collection of singing bowls, crystal, and I have a lot of beautiful Tibetan bowls, crystal pyramids. I use rattles, chimes, uh, just almost everything. And what I do is I'll either incorporate that as part of my Reiki healing session, or I will do a standalone session. I also do group healings with the singing bowls.
Okay.
It's a wonderful modality.
Yeah. So is that something that you do locally, or like, again, I'm thinking of my East Coast people.
Your East Coast people, once, yes, Intuitive Hearts is my business in Smithfield, Rhode Island, and I am going to be doing monthly sound healings as well as individual healing sessions. That's not one of the offerings that I offer online, though, because in my opinion, you really do need to feel the vibrations of the bowl is what helps release those energy blockages, helps bring that peace and that overall energetic health. And that's, for me, not something that is easily transmitted over the internet, like the way you could a tarot reading or the way you could even a Reiki session, because Reiki goes across time and
Right.
space. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Beautiful. Okay. So then let's talk about the Reiki. So
Yes.
I, so as far as working with clients versus teaching it,
Mm-hmm.
which do you do more of?
I love teaching. I absolutely adore teaching. I was a teacher before in a previous, not in a previously, but in a reiteration of this life. I was a math teacher for a while. So I enjoy helping people. So for me, teaching comes naturally, but I get the most enjoyment from doing private sessions and to be able to actually have people experience the tangible results that can happen as a result of Reiki. Physical healing, mental healing, emotional healing, energetic healing. It's such a beautiful, non-invasive, gentle healing modality. So yeah, I although I teach it several times a year, I really enjoy the one-on-one sessions.
Okay. So, and then being a yoga and meditation teacher, do you do that online or is that local as well?
That is local. I teach at a local studio right now, but I've been winding down on that as my other modalities have been picking up. Although I do love teaching meditation, I'll probably continue that at my business, all different types of meditation. I managed to weave that into many, many workshops. But the yoga itself, it's part of my personal practice daily. And once a week, I teach it locally. But that's not something that I do online anymore.
Okay.
Although I did for years.
Okay. Well, and what do you, besides opening your new physical place in
Mm-hmm.
Rhode Island, what do you have other projects, other books that you're working on? What is coming up for you?
Opening my physical place is right now all consuming. So that is where my attention is focused on because I really want to bring such wonderful offerings and different types of workshops to this area in Rhode Island, as well as stretch myself that way and find unique ways of offering different workshops that will really benefit people and help people, as well as do the individual practices. Haven't decided the topic of the next book yet, although I have been throwing ideas around, such as working with the elements more. I love the thought of working with the elements, and there's not a ton of material on practically working with the elements for healing and for growth, personal growth. So that might be an area where I dive deep in next time around.
Okay, so can you go into a little more detail about that? Is it similar to what we were talking about with the astrology and working
Yes.
with the elements that way, or is it something else?
Just even our astrology is wonderful, and for me it rings true, but there are certain people where it doesn't quite resonate with them. So using journaling prompts to get in there and really see different facets of the elements. Also, the elements are always turning within us and in blending together. So you could have air and fire or air and water, the different combinations. Each day is a little different, and it changes with the seasons. So right now, we're starting summer here in Rhode Island pretty soon. And so the fire element's going to be around more for everybody to get involved with. So even if you have a lot of earth and water, you'll be exposed to more fire. So how to time that with the seasons a little bit and be able to lean into that. Or if you already have a lot of fire, you might want to get into some cooling and bring in more water. So sort of how to work with the elements on a day-to-day basis based on not only your natal chart, your innate nature, but also what's happening around you.
Okay, so then if someone, I guess, doesn't have the opportunity to be in the location of where there might be water or
Mhm.
whatever, um, like what could they do?
Um, Take a nice long bath.
Okay.
Take a nice long bath, put some herbs in, some essential oils. That way, there are crystals that are associated with the water element that they could tap into. Seashells, surrounding yourself by getting some seashells and placing them around and sort of invite that water in. And also, water is associated with the emotions. So doing things that make your heart sing, that make you feel peaceful, reading poetry if that appeals to you, listening to certain kinds of music that might be more calming and soothing. There are plenty of ways to really get in there. Also with the singing bowls, if I want to bring in more water element, I will add water to some of my Tibetan bowls, and turn them more into dolphin bowls, which have a different kind of energetic property. That's
Okay.
fun too. So
I
you
like
just got to be creative and really sit there and think about these kind of things in the different ways it can apply. Although, personally, I love the beach.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, how has getting into all of these different modalities and really diving deep and working with clients, how has that transformed your life?
Oh, it's transformed my life in so many different ways. Just even working with people and getting the confidence to write books. I never saw myself as an author. I loved reading books, but I didn't see myself as a writer of books until I started working with people and exploring these modalities and learning about astrology, because I have a nice little close grouping of 3 planets in Gemini
Mm.
called the stellium. So in Gemini, writers love Gemini. And I'm like, wonder if I could lean into that a little bit. I wonder if that would be something interesting. And then playing with the ideas of, in my personal practice, growth, fear of rejection. Okay, I did this. I want to play with the idea of rejection and submit to publishers, knowing that I'll probably get rejected and I'm going to be okay. I'm going to be safe. I'm going to be good with that. But then they didn't reject me, which sort of blew up that idea. But still, I took the risk. And so I'm finding myself taking more risks. I'm finding myself getting out of my comfort zone. I'm finding that I've expanded in different ways. And I'm looking forward to seeing even where I go in the next 5-10 years, because I'm so different from where I was 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I totally, the whole Gemini thing resonate with, because my moon and my rising are Gemini.
Ooh, Gemini moon. That's fun.
So, and I'm a Sag. That's
Oh, you're
my,
Sag, so that's the exact opposite. So you have, lots of information versus a pointed focus on one topic. It's very interesting. I love that dynamic.
yeah.
Yeah, my moon is Aquarius, another air sign. So yes, rising
Okay.
Pisces, my only
Okay.
water element.
Well, and it's interesting that you were saying for the writing aspect with the
Mm-hmm.
Gemini, because I have several books I've written, and I never saw myself as a writer either. Like, I
But
never.
as you can see, lots of books behind me. That's only one of the bookshelves. I've grown to have like 7 bookshelves, and now, yeah, I've run out of room. So I'm trying to find interesting places to put my books.
Excellent. Well, what's the best advice that you would have for our listeners?
To know yourself, to get to know yourself, to find out who your authentic self is without judgment, without reservation. Do some journaling. Go back to what your initial interests were when you were a child that you might have forgotten, and see if there's something you can explore there. And don't be afraid to try new things. New things can be scary, but they can be huge opportunities for you to expand and, surprise yourself.
Mm,
There are no limits.
yeah, beautiful. And and this one more astrology question.
Oh, sure. I love it. We're right
Yeah.
in my wheelhouse. I love it.
So, do you look at what is going on in the world with astrology? Because I know we have shifted into the age of Aquarius, and there are a lot of astrologers that focus on that in terms of the global picture. Um, have you looked into that, or are you more individual
I'm
focused?
more individual. I do have an eye on what's happening, especially in the US. I'm going to be interested in the upcoming election and seeing what's happening there. We had the recent, what was the recent, was Jupiter Uranus conjunction was an interesting one that just happened, and I'm interested in seeing how that plays out. One of the popular theories is that, leaders will change. There'll be a shift, a power shift because of that. So I'm interested in seeing how this plays out. But for me personally, right now, there's so much happening in my own life and the lives of my clients that I really focus on individuals. Although I do pay attention to transits, not only the natal chart, but also how the planets are moving around the charts and how they play an important role in changes that are happening in our lives, our daily lives. So I focus more on the, individual, although I am so interested in what's happening right now in the world. More to come on that.
Right.
Mm.
Definitely. Well,
Mhm.
in our last bit of time here, is there anything else that you would like to share about your business or anything else that we haven't covered?
No, I think we did a great job, and I absolutely enjoyed talking with you, especially about all this astrology stuff. It's wonderful and refreshing. So
Nice.
thank you for the time. Yes, this was
Yeah.
wonderful.
Well, thank you. And okay, so remind people where they can find you, your website, and are you on socials, all of that?
Sure. Sure. So the website is intuitive with a dash hearts.com. And since we're just starting the business, the website's fully functional. I'm taking Zoom and in person. Socially right now, I just started the Facebook page. I'll be on Insta by, within a few days, and we'll see where it goes from there. Probably throw some TikToks out there and maybe some YouTube meditations.
Okay, beautiful. And how do people find your books?
Oh, my books are at all bookstores, can order them. Amazon has them. So it's Everyday Reiki and Healing, Spirit Allies and Healing Guide. And they were both published by Llewellyn. So Llewellyn website offers them as well.
Okay, excellent. Well, thank you so much for being here with me. And for those of you listening or watching, thank you. And I'll see you next time on Connection to the Cosmos. Aloha.